All right, kids. Hi there. So they asked me the other day if I'd be interested in putting together a vlog, I guess you would call this. I'm so technologically hip. That would be encouraging to you. In fact, I think that may be what we start to call this is Pastor Jim's encouraging words or something like that, because I love the picture of the word encouragement. If you look in the Bible and it says that we should encourage one another, the word there means that we should come alongside someone. Isn't that a great picture? That when people need encouragement, when they're feeling down or blue, or they need help with something, and they are feeling discouraged, what they need is someone to come alongside and to help them, to serve them, to bring life into them, and hopefully that's what this will be for you as we progress along in this. Okay. Um, about a week and a half ago, my wife and I we uh, we were we were dealing with some things in our lives where we'd gotten some news that afternoon where that just discouraged us. We hit the blues. I mean, I got home from work, and uh, something had happened that she was telling me about, and we talked for about 45 minutes. And I think in that time, what we managed to do was make ourselves even more discouraged and despairing about the whole situation that we were facing, and it seemed hopeless to us. We had gotten to that point. You understand this, where you get to like rock bottom kind of thing, and we were supposed to go out to eat. And so we got in the car and we were driving along. And I said, man, this just frustrates the life out of me. I said, if you think about it, we have so much to be thankful for, that God has done so many things in our lives. And here we are, we're allowing this one thing to overshadow all of this other stuff that we have to be thankful for, and that is really positive in our lives. And we're despairing about this thing, but really, if we could step back from that and look at what our lives are like, really our lives are pretty good. And we have a lot of things that we should be thankful for. And so Anne said, well, okay, then let's think about those. And she got her journal out, and we started to make a list of all the different things that God has done for us over the last very recently, and then over the last, we've got, and listing things like we got. First of all, we have each other, and we have our health, and we're able to do a lot of the things we like to do, like hike. And we've got 4 kids and their spouses and grandkids who love us and want to spend time with us and be for us to be a part of their lives, and have a wonderful church family here, our little house church thing. And we love those people, and they are a valuable part of our relationships. And we started to list all of these different things that God has done, all of the fingerprints of God's love in our lives, and started to realize that, man, God has blessed us in so many different ways. And and the really cool thing was that as we listed these things, we started to recount all, we took stock of all the different ways that God has been involved in our lives. It was like, we had been, Eeyore, from Winnie the Pooh. We had been pretty much Eeyore. Nothing was good. Nothing was encouraging. Everything was dark and cloudy and gloomy. And all of a sudden, as we started to express our gratefulness to God, it was like the clouds parted and the sunshine streamed in, and our hearts were lifted, and the burden was kind of taken off of our minds, and we began to see things differently. Our perspective was changed. This thing about, a gratitude attitude. My kids had a video that they watched over and over and over again, and there was a song that went along with it. I think it was called Gratitude Attitude. But this thing, it is such a spiritual truth that being grateful does so many good things for us in our lives. A couple of years ago, when we went, when COVID hit and we went remote and we started to do the prayer times during the day, one of the things that we began to pray through was this idea of being thankful, and how all of a sudden we began to see all throughout Scripture this command or teaching or insight that gratefulness has great power in our lives. And we see it over and over again. There's a place in Colossians 4 where it says in 3 verses, Paul says, let the truth of Christ dwell in your hearts richly and be thankful. And in the next verse, he says, and have gratitude in your hearts to God. And in the next verse, he says, and let gratefulness dwell in your hearts. And it was like all of a sudden, as we're reading through this, we're seeing gratefulness. First Thessalonians 5, he says, in everything give thanks. That this idea of giving thanks, it has such power in our lives to do so many wonderful things. I think there are a lot of things that we get out of this. One is that, if I am grateful, if I am expressing my thanks to God for all that he's done, what I'm really saying is, look, God, I realize that everything we have, that it all comes from you. It expresses my dependence upon God. It reinforces the idea that God is actively at work in my life, and he is doing so many good things in my life. Yeah, there are hard things in this life, and I know that a lot of our lives are really difficult in this moment. But if you look back over the course of your life, we ought to be able to see the places where God has just spoken and done things in our lives that we have to be grateful for. It expresses our dependence on God. When I take stock of what God has done, I begin to see the fingerprints of his love all over my life, that this is how he loves you. This is how he cares for you. This is the way that he is taking care of you right now in your life. And if I can do that, if I can express my dependence on God, and I can take stock of all the ways that he has been faithful and loving and kind and good in my life in the past, the other thing that it does is it develops trust in me for what's to come. Because if I can see his hand at work in my life in the past, then I can trust that there's no reason for me not to trust that he's not going to do that for me in my present and my future. It breeds trust in me to be thankful. So, I guess what I want to do is I want to encourage you. I want to come alongside of you. If you're like us and you're maybe in that time of, the blues have just hit and you're despairing about certain things and it's just a hard time in life. I want to encourage you to take some time, get your journal out, get a list out, start to write these things down. How has God blessed me? How has he been at work in my life? Remember that song, 10,000, reasons for my heart to sing, that we need to be able to take stock of all of this stuff. And when we do, I believe that God kind of ignites his presence in us and his favor in us, and our hearts are lifted from the burden of is God still providing for me? Well, yes, he is, because he has done this in the past. Be thankful, be grateful. Be grateful, in everything. Give thanks, Paul says. You don't have to be, I don't think he's saying you have to be thankful for that hard thing, but there are things surrounding that we still have to be grateful for. We need to build this into our lives as an ongoing opportunity to see God's hand at work in us and find the antidote for the blues and the discouragement that we feel. Okay. All right. So try that out, see if it works, and we will see you next month. Okay. Bye.